So, Miguel, why don't you introduce yourself for our listeners and tell us a little bit about what it is you do at SHPE?
So, Miguel Alemañy, 40-year veteran of Procter & Gamble. I've been with SHPE about 25 years, on and off in different capacities, and I'm now the interim CEO. I'm basically running the organization while the board looks for the next permanent CEO.
Perfect.
I was retired and came back from retirement to do this, and as soon as we get a new CEO, I'm going to go back to retirement on the beach.
I love it. So why don't you tell me about when you first decided to get involved with SHPE?
That's an interesting one. So I was living in Europe with P&G, working with P&G, and I just get back to Cincinnati. Cincinnati is P&G's headquarters. And my boss comes over and says, I need you to join this advisory board at this organization called SHPE. I had no idea what SHPE was. When I went to college, SHPE didn't exist.
Right.
Or if it existed, it was three guys in a garage in LA. So there's no real SHPE like we know it today. So I said, sure, I'll go. And I went. I don't remember, it was 98 or 99, but I think it's there about that time. And I went to an IPC meeting. That's the advisory board, the Industrial Partnership Council.
Yeah.
And oh my God, was it dysfunctional. There was literally the industry fighting with the president at the time, back and forth.
Right.
Industry want to go left, the president want to go right. The president did not want the industry to say anything. The industry wanted, and I spent the whole day, and I went back to P&G, and I said, guys, this is great, but I don't want to do this. I'm not going back to SHPE. That organization is just, no, it's too crazy.
Right.
And my boss said, but I'm sorry, you're under the impression that I asked you to go. I didn't ask you to go. I'm telling you you're going to go.
Right.
So you got to go. I said, okay. So I went back. The second meeting, the other quarter, was also terrible. But the third meeting, I decided that if I were to stay here, I need to fix this. Because really, nothing happened. It was all fights. So I ran for IPC chair, and I got it. And then I organized the guys to stop the infighting, and then to sit down with SHPE's management at the time, and talk to them about what the IPC wanted. It's very, very funny because there is the perception that the IPC controls SHPE. At the time, the IPC dues were about 85% of the organization's budget. So at the time, they could have controlled SHPE.
Right.
But they never did because the IPC was so disorganized, and the relationship between the IPC and SHPE was confrontational on everything. I got a lot of stories, but they're terrible. I'm not going to share them. But I sat down with these guys and said, dude, we need to learn to collaborate. I'm not going to repeat what SHPE told me, but basically said no. And I said, okay, then we're not going to pay your dues until we decide to collaborate and work.
Yeah.
And the person at the time told me that I could do that if I wanted, but I was going to come back on my knees begging for forgiveness because we needed SHPE more than SHPE needed me. I was still not quite sure what SHPE did. I will tell you that, okay?
At that point.
But the attitude was so bad. And I said, okay. And I turned around to the APC, and I convinced about 2/3 of them to withhold the fundings. And then we left. We walked out. It was a meeting in Chicago. We walked out, sort of like a strike. Right?
Yeah.
We walked out.
Right.
And I said, we walked out. The guy said, you'll come back on your knees. He said, we'll see. Fast forward 9 months. He was asking us what we needed to create a collaborative relationship. Now, the guy was a nice guy. I stayed friends with him. He passed away recently, but I stayed friends with him the whole time. But I said, well, now that you're willing to listen, we need access to the kids. We need the following at the convention. And we work. And at that point, I realized that I could actually help the organization move forward. And I actually stayed with the IPC, I want to tell you, 20 years as a PNG rep at the IPC. And in those 20 years, we helped SHPE tremendously. Diana spearheaded the movement of the convention from the late spring to the fall. Our convention used to be at a time where most companies had no jobs. So most of our convention people did not get a job because the companies hire people they interview from August to November. So Diana said, let's move the conference to the part of the year when people are hiring.
Right.
For whatever reason, the organization opposed that. So I joined Diana, and if I remember correctly, GM, J&J, GE, a couple other companies joined us, and we started a campaign. And I helped them move the conference. Best thing we've ever done. Oh my God, that went to the roof. The number of kids that were able to get jobs went exponentially up. In fact, the same people who were against it started saying, this is the best decision we have ever made. Like, okay. But, the important thing was not to win. The important thing was to move it. So I said, well, thanks to your help, we were able to move it. And that began, I would say, my passion for the place. Because then I realized that instead of getting jobs for 300 kids, we're going to get jobs for 2,000 kids. Wow. That's a big difference. You touch the life of many people when you do that. So Diana and myself, another board member, Adario Sanchez at the time, or not board member, sorry, IPC member, started looking at what do we need to do to grow SHPE. SHPE was $1.5 million in budget, which allows you to serve about 1,000 to 2,000 kids. People say, well, SHPE is nonprofit, shouldn't be looking for money. No, we need to look for money because that's how we pay the necessary fees to the mission.
Yeah.
The more money we have, the more kids we can help. And we came up with a plan. I mean, I'm fast forward 10 years of work.
Right. Yeah.
But we came up with a plan to bring professional experience, high-powered talent into the board. Executives from companies and stuff like that. Made the board mostly appointed because the board was elected. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with elections. An election got us to where we were. But the problem is nothing had happened for years and years and years. Every year or every 2 years, the board changed. So every 2 years was a different plan, a different direction.
Right.
But every time the leader of the board changed, it's like, well, you're going left? No, I want to go right. The next guy, oh, right? No, I want to go center. So things would never deliver. I'm oversimplifying because obviously they did sufficient work to get us to 2,000 kids, maybe 3,000 kids.
Yeah. So
we started working with the board at the time and a couple of other volunteers. Barry Cordero was one of them, very instrumental in helping this happen. And we changed the board to an elected. As compromise, we did 9 people elected and 9 people appointed and 6 people elected. And decided those people will serve 2-year terms, maximum of 3 consecutive terms, so that we maintain continuity with the board. But after 3 terms, they need to get off at least for a term because you don't want people to be there 30 years.
Yeah.
By the way, there's nothing wrong with being there 30 years, but people need a break, and we need a break and bring new talent. Long story short, we grew the organization 10 times in size.
Wow.
Our budget grew so high that today we can serve the needs of 15,000 members on our way to 20,000, and we're putting together a plan to get to 50,000. Now think about that. 50,000 Hispanic families in the nation whose kids are going to become engineers or scientists, technologists, graduate, and go work in the industry, which means we're not only impacting those 50,000, we're impacting 50,000 and their family,
Right.
and their companies and their friends. So we're talking about impacting the lives of hundreds of thousands of people, and we're just starting. If you think about it, on a normal year, there'll probably be 85,000, 90,000 engineering students alone. Forget about STEM for a second, just engineering. When we get 15,000, we have what, 20% of the potential membership?
Yeah.
So there is another 70,000 students that we're not helping, that we could help. Now, maybe not everybody needs the help, not everybody wants the help, but maybe 50,000 more people. So I keep telling you, we're in the process of accelerating our growth, and we're in the process of about to take off again. Now, we're going to need a little bit more work if we're going to be successful doing this. Our processes are designed for 1,000 members, not 50,000.
Right.
Our staff, at the time we were running with 5 staff, we're 46 now, on our way to 50 and our way to 60. So I would say, assume over the next 10 years, I probably won't be here because I'm at some point in time I do need to get retired. Over the next 10 years, SHPE is going to morph into an incredible powerhouse. But our structure will probably change. Our staffing structure will change. Our procedures will change. Our processes will change, because we need to do that in order to support the growth. So I fell in love with this organization and its mission. I was on the board when the board was appointed. I was previously in the board of the foundation. So SHPE had a foundation. Something a lot of people don't know, but the foundation was a 501c3. SHPE was a 501c6. So SHPE was somewhat limited in their ability to fundraise. The foundation was not. So the foundation literally bought SHPE and then renamed the foundation as SHPE. So the surviving organization is actually the foundation, but we rename it as a regional SHPE organization. So now SHPE is a 501c3, and that has allowed us to go after money that otherwise we could not. And people ask me, why do you want to go after more money? Well, think about it this way. Every $1 million that we bring is 1,000 to 2,000 more kids that we can help, is another 100 to 200 to 300,000 more in scholarships. When I started with SHPE, SHPE was giving $40,000 a year in scholarships, maybe 50. On a good year, maybe do 100. Today, we're about almost $2 million in scholarships. And we have plans to go to 4 million. We have plans to go onward. So I tell you, this is the best time to be in SHPE because it's going exponentially up. And I know that was a very long answer to your question, but I talk too much, I know.
No, it's all very interesting, relevant information, and I'm sure a lot of people, even current SHPE staff, might not know. And it's history that's important that we keep, because if we, forget about history, then we're doomed to repeat it. So just a quick question I had about something that you said. Is there a reason why SHPE was established as a 501(c)(6), you said, and then the other one's 501(c)(3)?
I actually don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
I know
Curious.
that we had a foundation established about the same time as the original SHPE, maybe a couple of years later. That foundation was not working. Mm-hmm. So Diana Gomez decided to try to revitalize the foundation, but the people running the foundation chose to shut it down. So she created a new foundation, a 501c3, so that they could do the fundraising and have me, myself, Adalio, Ernie Felix, who's our current chief of staff, and a few others join the board, and we help the foundation grow. The foundation started to grow, and then when we decided that it was impractical and inefficient to have two organizations, one raises the money, the other one spends it, and they had one CEO, and we had to share the CEO, we decided to just merge them into one. Now,
Right.
Again, I'm talking 2 years worth of convincing to be able to do that, because the members had to vote for this, and there were a few members who were concerned about doing that SHPE would not be the same. Well, actually, it is true. SHPE would not be the same. SHPE would be significantly better.
Right.
So, and it worked. I mean, people said, "Do you think that was the right decision?" Look where we are. Where we are.
Definitely.
Similar with government affairs. About 2 years ago, we decided to try to get a seat at the table where decisions on STEM are made, and SHPE was unknown. Now SHPE is a known quantity in Washington, and we get asked quite a bit of questions when they're thinking about policy for STEM, when they're thinking about policy for HSIs, when they're thinking about policy for. They asked us, and we can contribute. We can actually influence some of the legislation in a way that improves our chances in STEM, that improves the Hispanic community. Now, we are a 501c3. We don't campaign. We don't take sides.
Yeah.
You know, our organization has Democrats and has Republicans, so we're not gonna, defend the Democrat point of view or defend the Republican point of view on any issue, because we can't do that as an organization. Plus, that's not our members. Our members are mixed, so we stay nonpartisan, but we are in almost every effort that the government does for STEM. We're there somewhere, and we're getting significant influence in the work, and we expect that to grow. We expect also to get some funding from STEM so that we can have another 10,000 members or 15,000 members. Think about it this way. I said before, we have about 85,000 engineering Hispanic students a year. We have hundreds of thousands of STEM students.
Yeah.
Imagine how many more families we can help. Not to mention the technology development in society with all the talent that we bring. So I think there's no top end to how much SHPE can grow. Now, we have to be careful. You grow too fast, too far, and you fall apart. Right. So we got to be careful. And the board, which, by the way, maintains a strategy, and year after year it changes, because today the board is, I want to say, 90% different than the board was 4 years ago, because people leave and we get more people. The board is maintaining the strategy and is looking at the structure, and is looking at the next 10-year plan, and is making changes at a pace that we can do it. We have added a significant number of employees. Well, the employees need training.
Yeah.
If I add 20 employees and don't train them, they're not going to be that efficient. So we have to be careful with the pace. But I am very hopeful this is going to go, and it's going to continue growing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you've set us on a good path, honestly, to be able to achieve that growth and those goals. And one thing that I appreciate from what you said is that you made tough choices throughout your time at SHPE. But I believe from the way you express yourself is that those tough choices were made with the SHPE members in mind. Yes. What is best for them, what is going to get them the things that they need, the resources that they need, the funds that they need to be able to have a better experience.
The only reason we exist is to serve our members and help them get into STEM, help them stay in school, help them graduate, and help them get a job. That's all we do. People say, why do you want to raise more money? So that I can do more members.
Right.
But you're a nonprofit. Yeah, but nonprofits need to get money to pay their expenses somehow.
Yeah.
And I had a long conversation with a group the other day, and they said, you need to figure out how to meet the needs without raising money. So, well, okay, let's look at it this way. I got 46 employees. We have inflation, cost of living. Some of them are working great. Some of them are working good, different kinds. So at some point in time, once a year or whatever, we need to give them a salary increase.
Right.
How do I give them a salary increase? How do I find money to get? So I say, well, instead of 15,000 members, I'm going to serve 14,000 members to be able to give employees a salary increase. No, because that's not what we exist. We don't exist here for employees. We exist here for the members. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to fire 6 members to save money to give the other 40 salary increase. Well, that could work, but now I don't have enough people to manage 15,000 members.
Yeah.
And you go through this analysis, and at the end you say, well, I just need to raise more money.
Yeah.
I need more donors. I need more corporations to help us. I need more grants. And once you do that, then you can pay your employees so they stay with us. Because it's terrible to you get an employee, you train them, they become very good, and they leave. You go back to square one. So stay with us, and then that turns into more kids in STEM, more kids graduating, more kids getting employed. By the way, I say kids, but they're adults.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they're adults. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand. It's interesting because that part of our lives is behind us. So sometimes we think of ourselves as kids. So then we think of them as kids sometimes, but we know that they're hardworking adults. They're out there making amazing things happen.
Yeah. And they have family, they have kids, so
right.
They have children. So I know.
We talked in length about what you've done for SHPE, but I kind of want to understand, who is this person that has done this, and what has his path been throughout his life and his career? So why don't you walk me through your origins and what led you to become involved with STEM in the first place?
All right. So I was born in Puerto Rico, San Juan. Grew up in there. My family is from Catalonia, from Mallorca and Barcelona. And I always known I wanted to be an engineer since I was a little kid, 5 years old. I just didn't know it was called engineering. But I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I mean, I would take machines apart, put them back together. I want to know how things work, how to make them work better, all my life. Eventually, I realized it was engineering, so I went into engineering school. And the universe has a sense of humor. Let me tell you a story. When I went to college, it's 300 years ago, I had to do IBM cards, punch them, write them, put them in the computer, and that's how you did your application.
Yeah.
So I filled out mine wrong. I want to be a mechanical engineer because I love machines, I love cars, I love engines, and I put the markings for a chemical engineering.
Interesting.
A UPR is a 5-year curriculum. The first 2 years are the same for everybody. So I didn't think much of it. The third year, all of a sudden, I have all these chemistry classes. So I go to my advisor and said, who is his name? I don't remember. I said, what is this? He said, that's your curriculum. No, but why so much chemistry? You're a chemical engineer. No, sir, I'm a mechanical engineer. No, you're a chemical engineer. And I look at it and I'm a chemical engineer. And he says, it's too late to change. So finish the semester. Next semester, we'll move you to mechanical engineering, and you may need to stay 5.5 years. I mean, you might need to get an extra semester, but you'll get it. It's okay. I liked it.
Wow. I
liked the chemistry. So I went back and said, dude, I'm going to stay in chemical. I'm going to be chemical engineer. I'm going to go work in a petrochemical company. I'm going to make gasoline. In fact, I graduated with a concentration in heat exchange. I was going to be designing heat exchangers for a living. So Procter & Gamble offered me a job. I go work for Procter & Gamble. And for the first 30 years of my career, my 4-year career, I worked as a mechanical engineer. I tell you, the universe has a sense of humor because the diaper lines, the feminine protection lines, those are all mechanical processes. There's very little chemistry in that. And I loved it. I mean, I like machines. So I graduated in, I had an interesting career with P&G. I always tell people say, because I had a great career. I retired as a vice president of R&D, and I had a great career. I can't complain. But my career was not like this. My career was more like this. I started in 79. I got fired in 84. I resigned in 87. I left the company, took a package in 2003, and I retired in 2019. So I kept leaving and coming back. So it was very, very torturous. But I was the first Hispanic ever hired by P&G and R&D. And they didn't know what to do with me. I will tell you this. I had never been discriminated against because I'm Hispanic at P&G. But because I was Hispanic, I faced a lot of discrimination. And people don't understand that. It was very simple. Not anybody, not one boss ever said, let's not give Miguel that project. He's Puerto Rican. He's not going to be able to do it. Nobody did that. Don't even know exactly that I was Puerto Rican or not.
You're just Hispanic.
just Hispanic. But I behaved like a Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
I was loud. I flapped my arms. You know what you call a Hispanic with a hands tied? Mute. You can't. We just. That's how we talk. So I was different than 99% of the people at the company. So
Right.
people were uncertain whether I was fit for the next level because I don't know this guy. I mean, he comes in and he thinks he's yelling and so I had to deal through that. And when I was fired in '84, I realized that the way I was at work wasn't working. Long story. I'm not going to bore you with the details how I stayed, but I shadow two people that I respected and see how they worked. And I was fascinated by the things they did and said because I would have not done that. But I learned. I mean, I did this for a year. I learned about this and I understood, and I started practicing and I changed my behavior and I was less emotional Hispanic and more Anglo. Now I didn't change everything. I didn't become Mike or Michael. I'm still
Of course.
Miguel.
Yeah.
And I didn't eliminate 100% of my accent. I still have some. So it wasn't about hiding that I was Hispanic, but it was about behaving in a way that reassured management that I knew what I was doing. And I always tell people I was hired in '84, and in '89, the guy who fired me worked for me
Wow.
because I wasn't any smarter than I was before. I just learned how to do the job, and that over the years, and again, I can bore you for the next 3 hours with examples
No,
of
please.
what happens with being Hispanic. But when I found SHPE, I realized that here is a way where you can help people learn these things so they don't have to go through the crap I went through.
Right.
Because there was no reason for me to go through all the ups and downs that I went through, but I did because I didn't know any better. There were no role models. I was the first one. In fact, I was a role model for everybody else in the company that came after me.
Right.
So I thought with SHPE, that was my first liking for SHPE is I can help other kids learn how to operate in an Anglo company, get the opportunities that I didn't have. I also did not have a whole lot of opportunities growing up, but this organization came held up, and I like that, and that's what made me decide to invest my time and energy and money. I donate money to the organization into SHPE because that allows me to prevent other people to go through the crap that I went through. Now the world's a different world today. I mean, back then, I don't know how many people asked me if I drove to Puerto Rico from Georgia, and so okay, I mean I was flabbergasted. I go, you don't know where it is, so. Now the whole political arena has changed. Hispanics are a massive force in the nation, so things are different. But SHPE can still make the students' lives easier. And why would we not do that? I had retired and I was in San Juan on the beach when they asked me if I could do the CEO job until they found a new CEO.
Right.
So the old CEO had left for their own reasons. I didn't hesitate. Now, I haven't been back on the beach for 5 months. And I probably won't be back for another 5 months because it takes a while to get the CEO. And by the way, the process is going. We met today with a firm that is doing the search, and we spent most of the day working with them on the job description, the requirements, the kind of person we want for this job. So it's working, but it's a slow process.
Sure.
And we had to find the right person. We don't want to grab the first person who looks okay.
Yeah.
We just have to find the right person. That's not their time. So I'm doing it, and I'm doing it for free because I'm trying to help. I mean, I was blessed that at P&G I did okay. So I can't buy myself a jet or anything like that. I'm not billionaire or any nonsense like that. But on the other hand, I don't need a job to survive. I have a good retirement account with P&G, so I'm doing it for free, and I will do it as long as they want. I do miss the beach, though. I gotta tell you that.
Understandable.
Yeah.
So you talked about how you were a student in engineering in Puerto Rico, and I think that part of your life is where a lot of our chapter members are now.
Yes.
Right? So they're going through that experience, and you had the unique experience of having it be during the 70s, right? That you went through that part of your life. What were some challenges that you went through, and how did you overcome them?
Biggest challenge was money. I get into the discussion a lot with members. People say, oh, we don't have the opportunities you had. You know, we really, school is expensive and we got money. In fact, when you were a kid, I bet your school was $100 a credit. Now it's $1,000 a credit. Well, yeah, but that $100 is the same as $1,000 today.
Right.
So people don't understand that. So I had difficulty. I had to work. I had by the time I got to P&G, I have had 42 jobs.
Wow.
42 different jobs in my late high school and college years to be able to pay. My mom was helping me with school. She prived herself from many pleasures in life and vacations and travel so that she could pay some of the school. So I had financial challenges throughout, and when my wife and I graduated, she had a lot of loans, debt. You know, people say, "Oh my God, but you don't understand. Kids today graduate with debt." So did we in 1970. You
right.
know, that hasn't changed. Now, I do say it is worse today. So I'm not. I gotta be honest. It is worse today,
Sure.
and I think that the loan system is not a friendly system. It's more of a predatory system. So there's some issues that need to be fixed. But it's not like people say, you guys had it easy, we got it so bad. So I had to go through those issues. I was lucky when I graduated that the job market was hot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most people had 5 or 6 offers. I've seen years where the market is soft and you graduate and it'll be 9 months before you get your first offer. So ups and downs. But my issues were mostly I needed money. In fact, I dropped out of school for 6 months to work because I ran out of money.
Wow.
And I didn't have enough time to work sufficiently to pay for my apartment and stuff and still stay in school. So I dropped out. My mother was very upset. She said, "You're never going to come back. People don't come back. You drop out of college, people just don't come back." And that was motivated. Just to prove my mother wrong, I worked for 6 months and I went back and finished my degree and had sufficient money to actually finish and graduate. When I moved to my first job in Georgia, I basically had no money in the bank and a suitcase and 4 boxes. That's all I had in life.
Wow.
So it wasn't easy. And the logical thing was to drop out and go work. That was logical. That's what some of my friends did, you know. But I just stayed and just pride myself. You know, I got friends who they graduated from high school and they went to Europe for a couple of weeks and they went to college and they graduated from college and went to Europe for a couple of weeks and then went to work. I went to the backyard and mow the grass. You know, it was difficult. It was difficult. I do have to say, though, I did not face discrimination growing up. In fact, I didn't understand I was a minority until about 5 years in the States. So when I first arrived, I remember there was a plant meeting, and the plant manager's talking about diversity, and I'm sitting next to a Chinese guy. And the plant manager says, you know, the plant is 50% black, 49% white, and 1% other. And I kid with the Chinese guy, Bosco, was his name. Hey, Bosco, that's you. That 1% is you. And he laughed and says, "Yeah, and you too." And I go, "No, not me. That's it. It was him and I. We were the 1%, because we're different." I didn't understand that, and knowing that you're a minority at the logical level is very different to feel emotionally you're a minority.
Yeah.
In fact, in my P&G career, half my career was in Europe. Every time I'm in Europe, I'm Joe Average. I'm not a minority. The Turkish guys, the Albanians are minorities. You know, I was just a regular European. And every time I came back to the States, it's like somebody hits me in the face with a 2x4. This society goes out of the way for minorities to make them feel they're minorities.
Right.
This is a completely different conversation that will take 4 or 5 hours, so I'm not going to get too far into that. But I think the society makes us feel like a minority, and we as minorities help them. But that's a long conversation, so I'm not going to go there. But my point is, I grew up and I did not have the issues that the students today have in this situation. More so, given the political climate, the anti-Hispanic, anti-immigrant feelings that are coming and going in waves. I was blessed and I didn't have to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, you might not have had to deal with it, but you did deal with the money problem, which a lot of our members do deal with, and that's something that we're trying to address for them, right? And I'm sure that you would have taken it full advantage if SHPE had been around and available to you.
Yeah.
But what's interesting now is that there are many more resources available to students, especially in a similar situation that you were in. And SHPE is one of those resources.
Yes.
And it's smart of them to take advantage of what we offer and be able to succeed in life by taking the scholarships, the different programs that we offer to help them progress in school, the resume reviews, all those things are available to them. And a lot of it is thanks to the work that you've done. So I do want to celebrate you and the work that you have achieved.
Thank you.
Because it's invaluable. You have personally, Miguel, shaped and helped thousands of people's lives. And I feel honored to be able to interview you here and learn more about you and the work that you've done, because it's awe-inspiring, really. You really have shown that even when times are tough, even when things aren't easy, if you are able to put in the hard work, do good work, you're going to find success despite of where you come from, where you've been. It's available. It's achievable. Yeah. It's going to take more effort, right? But it's gonna happen as long as you're able to.
I will tell you something though, and I hope the listeners will understand that. You hear a lot about work smart, don't work hard. No, you have to work hard.
Yeah. You
can work smart, but you still have to work hard.
Definitely.
If you work smart and the other person works smart and hard, the other person is going to get the reward. You're not.
Yeah.
So to get ahead in life, you have to work hard. There's no other. If somebody comes to you and say, take this pill, and tomorrow you'll be like Arnold Schwarzenegger, full of muscles. Do you believe it? No, because there's no magic pill.
Yeah.
Same thing. There's no magic way of working. You got to work hard, get results, and you got to be better than the other people. We are in a competitive environment. Whether you're government, academia, or industry, it is a competition. And the person that works the best and gets the best results gets ahead. Every now and then, things happen that are not particularly fair. That's the exception, because in reality is hard work is what gets you ahead.
Yes, definitely. And I think you're living proof of that. So, thank you so much, Miguel. Is there something else that you want our listeners to know, either about you or about SHPE?
About SHPE, by all means, stay with SHPE. When you graduate, stay with SHPE. SHPE can benefit from having you as a member. SHPE gets political clout in Washington also because of its size. So if you graduate and forget about us, we're not going to be as successful as if you stay as a member and we can go and say, well, I have 100,000 members in my organizations who don't want you to do the following STEM. So it allows us to do good to other people. For those of you in SHPE that graduate and go to work in your companies, pull people behind you as you go up. Don't forget that there were other people that could get better if you help them, because somebody helped you. If you're in SHPE, somebody helped you. Trust me. So pay it back, and I know people hate that pay back, but pay it back by helping others as you go along. Don't forget that there are always going to be, no matter how bad things, there are always going to be people who need some help.
Definitely. No matter who you are, you can help somebody.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Miguel, for your time.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, and it was a pleasure talking with you, and hopefully you can do this again sometime.
Yeah, anytime.